Coming up on the Fish Hunt Forever podcast.
Missouri snow goose hunting with David.
Yeah. I barely survived that.
Some of us hunters don't always have the best dietary habits.
Make sure you're preparing in environments where you're not relegated to just a bottle of water.
I think people got to be real careful if they're going to want to say that that's legal.
This is the Fish Hunt Forever podcast, formerly Sporting Journal Radio, presented by OnX. Know where you stand with OnX. Welcome to the show. I'm Bret Amundsen along with Dan Amundsen over there. We got a good one. It's deer season, Dan.
Deer week. I'm leaving for deer camp, I think tomorrow morning. I was going to maybe leave right after we recorded this, but I don't think that's going to happen. So, because we've got some guests here at the Fish Hunt Forever studios that we're hanging out with.
I was just going to say, but part of the reason you're sticking around is because Jake Bermudez, Dr. Jake Bermudez, and Joe Ellis are with us right now, and we're going to be talking to them. And they've got some really interesting stories. First of all, Joe has never pheasant hunted before, so we went out to take him for his first pheasant hunt, and we tried to get him on his first rooster. We'll tell you if we were successful. Well, we were successful. We'll show you the video because I love it. It was pretty cool, him knocking down this bird. We'll talk to him about that experience coming up. And Jake is an interesting guy because he's a doctor, grew up in Chicago, and basically take, not that doctors aren't outdoorsmen, but you take his background and where he came from to where he is now, being a successful doctor, but also part owner in a waterfowl guide service, and he likes to hunt and fish, and he's got a hunting dog now. His transition, he didn't grow up hunting. So for him to become a hunter, like an adult onset hunter, he's got a unique story that we'll hear. And he's got tips for us. Like, we got a
smart dude.
Yeah, as I say, we got a smart guy on the show.
And Joe's got a pretty cool background too, between military and playing football and living in Texas and an attorney. Like pretty cool guests here we've got on the show this week.
Yeah, college athlete, and did 2 tours in Afghanistan. So it's fun. It's been a fun week having those guys here, and we're going to talk about that and give you tips on how you can stay healthy with Dr. Jacob Bermudez coming up later in the show. Plus, Joe Henry joins us. We're going to start talking ice fishing already too, Dan.
Yep. That's all I'll say.
I mean, it's deer season, so that means everything good is happening, and we had a storm roll through this weekend too, is what's been forecasted. So it's time to start thinking about what comes after the hunting season, even though I'm not ready for it.
Spring, that's what comes after. We just don't talk about winter, and maybe it won't happen.
All right. Who are the sponsors? And there's a couple of big stories, I think, in the news that we want to mention nationally when it comes to bow hunting and crossbow users. Yeah. And also that turkey story where that kid shot. Did you hear about this, Dan? This kid shot this turkey that was on his family's property, but it turned out it was one of his teacher's, like, pet turkey, whatever that means, like a domestic turkey of some sort, I suppose. He got charged with a felony.
Right to jail.
Straight to jail. But there's an update to that story. We'll tell you about it coming up. But first, who are the sponsors this week on the show?
Lake of the Woods Tourism. It's time to start thinking ice fishing at Lake of the Woods. Plan a trip at lakeofthewoodsmn.com. OnX Hunt, see private land boundaries, offline maps, and more. Take 20% off a new membership with code SJR20. Haybale Heights Campground and Resort. Fish Devil's Lake out of a snow bear this winter at Haybale Heights. Learn more at haybaleHeights.com. Tasman Lake Lodge. Catch world record lake trout and giant pike. It's Saskatchewan's Tasman Lake. Learn more at tasmanlake.com. Prairie Sportsman. You can watch episodes anytime at the Prairie Sportsman YouTube channel. And Trails End Outfitters. Deer season's kicking off up there pretty quick. Trophy bear, walleye, and whitetails in Saskatchewan. Visit trailsendoutfitters.com.
All right, it's time for some headlines. Those headlines are brought to you by Trails End Outfitters, guided whitetail black bear hunting in Saskatchewan, and fishing, open water fishing in the summer, hard water fishing in the winter on legendary famous Tobin Lake with our buddy Barry Prawl. Get a hold of him at trailsendoutfitters.com. All right, so this is a wild story. I couldn't believe it when I heard about it, but this turkey, really cool. Maybe you'd say it's kind of a smoke phase, kind of unique looking turkey, walks onto this guy's property. The 16-year-old kid shoots it. Well, all of a sudden word gets out, and this person, this woman who just happened to be a teacher, I think at the same school, says, "Wait a minute, that was my turkey that I raised on my property." Now, it was called, in the story, it's called her pet turkey. Now, I don't know if that means like she had it slept on the couch in the living room, or if it was
Imagine how bad that would smell.
You know, or if she just had chickens and turkeys and ducks walking around the property and this was one of hers. Well, wandered off. The kid had a legal turkey tag. He was on his family's property. He shoots it. Well, everything's by the book. Everything's legal, except the teacher got real mad and called the cops. They charged him with animal cruelty, a felony.
Not jail.
Straight through jail. So the investigation went about a week, and then the legal case dragged on for almost 6 months, according to Outdoor Life. This is where we're getting this story from. But I guess the trial centered on a couple of things. One, did the teenager know that it was the teacher's pet turkey when he pulled the trigger?
He shot the teacher's pet.
Hey-o. And whether or not he knew that it was, let's see, whether the turkey killed and fed belonged to the teacher and her husband, and whether the two key questions, whether these questions seem like the same thing. Anyway.
Well, it's the legal system, so if only we had an attorney around here to ask about this. He's pheasant hunting right now.
Yeah. The judge, in issuing his not guilty verdict, said there was insufficient evidence to affirmatively answer those two questions and to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this was guilty of aggravated cruelty to animals. So I ask you, Dan, if it's turkey season, you got a turkey tag, you're hunting on your property, and a neighbor's domestic-ish turkey walks onto the property, and you know it's one of their domestic turkeys, I probably don't shoot it.
No, absolutely not, because I'd tick off the neighbor. But if
Correct.
I didn't know, and I've seen the picture of that turkey, it's way cool bird, I'm absolutely going to pull the trigger on that bird, because I like eating turkeys and it's a cool bird.
Yeah, if you don't know, there's no question the kid's going to shoot it. So in any case, it is a weird situation where the hunting world crosses over into the rest of the world, and those two worlds collide. And he was found not guilty in any case, which I think that was probably the right
Win
answer.
for the good guys.
Yeah. All right. Also, this happened in Arizona, Dan.
Yes.
This bow hunting.
Crossbow hunting thing.
Pull it up here real quick. So Arizona has a rule change right now. This was a post from the Montana Bow Hunters Association. The Arizona Game and Fish Department is repealing a rule which established the crossbow permit as part of a larger rulemaking process. So this will eliminate the ability for hunters to use crossbows during the archery-only season. So this is something that we've talked about a lot here. In fact, when Wisconsin made it legal for crossbow hunters to hunt the entire archery season, then this is going back a number of years. I didn't like it then. And then Minnesota, of course, followed suit because they seem to follow suit anytime Wisconsin does something. And in the name of not making it harder to go out there hunting, let's just allow crossbows in the entire archery season. Now, as we know, and as we've said many times, the archery season is 3.5 months long in Minnesota because of the difficulty to use a vertical bow. Now, I understand the argument about compound bows versus traditional bows, recurves, longbows, etc., but still a vertical bow is much more difficult to use than a crossbow. You still have to hold that draw, and you still have a shorter distance that you're that for an ethical shot. But obviously, we are not the only ones that feel this way because the rule has now changed in Arizona. So, Dan, my question for you: do you think this will ever change anything in Minnesota because of this?
It'll probably take half the states in the country to also do it for Minnesota to do anything, because as we've learned with other issues outside the hunting and fishing world and inside the hunting and fishing world, Minnesota will never be first at something. And I'd also like to clarify with this, people who have a disability or injury can still get a permit and use a crossbow during the archery only seasons in Arizona, which we are in agreement. We think youth and elderly hunters and people with injuries and whatnot should be able to use crossbows.
Correct.
All year long. We've never been against that, ever. But it's the able-bodied humans like ourselves that we just, I don't know, we don't think we should be a thing.
And we've talked about it many times, and like, we're not against crossbows.
No.
We're against the season being 3.5 months long.
Yeah.
So just sell another license, make some money for the underfunded DNR that everybody talks about. The DNR needs more money. We'll sell another license and make it a season much like the muzzleloader season.
Yep.
And I think everybody wins in that situation right there. So I did a little bit of digging since the gun season is upon us here, the firearm deer season in Minnesota. How many people do you think will get in trouble for using rifles in the shotgun zone this weekend, Dan?
There'll probably be at least a couple people that maybe they won't even get caught, but they might accidentally do it because they just didn't read things properly, even though it's been all over. So don't use a rifle in the shotgun zone.
The old 30-30 gauge we heard about.
30-30 gauge, yes. Don't do that. And please be safe this week.
Yeah, please be safe, of course, no matter what weapon you're using. But as most of you probably know, the shotgun zone is still in effect for this year. So even though they talked about changing and the counties have been discussing it, no changes will be made until next year, 2026. So as I was going through the regs and reading some of what's new for this year, there's a whole thing about the electronic licensing system. You know, that app where you can buy your licenses in for a minute. Oh, wait, that's not. That was supposed to be done in March. Not done yet. Hopefully we get that soon. But
that's how I feel about that.
I saw something about trespass law, and I was like, hey, you know, I had a fairly good grasp on what the trespass law in Minnesota is, but I wanted to read through it because there was a real long thread on Facebook that I went down the rabbit hole on the other day. And it was people talking about hunting unposted property and the legality of it. And as the trespass law is written, you need permission to do outdoor activities on posted or agricultural land. So landowners need to post their property every 1,000 feet. The letters need to have 2-inch letters. They have to have the landowner's name, signature, and telephone number. If it's wooded, it has to be every 500 feet. So it has to be posted properly for this to be considered posted properly. If you are on private land and it's not posted and you get asked to leave, you cannot return for a year. So as Dan and I were discussing this off the air, does that mean it's legal to hunt private land that's not posted?
I don't think so. Otherwise, we'd be calling the state North Dakota. Because how is that rule any different than North Dakota? But nobody flocks here because that's not the rule.
It's not the rule. But so in my opinion, if it's not legal to hunt private land, despite the way this trespass law is written, we need to change the way this trespass law is written, because personally, I don't like the fact that as it's written, a guy could go hunt private land and it'd be legal until he gets asked to leave.
Yeah, but see, I don't know. I don't know if it's really legal. I don't know if that's the right word to be using. I think we got to be careful there. I'm not sure you can get cited for it, but there's a situation that you and I were a part of. There was a chunk of land that we have permission to hunt that we pulled up to once, and there's a guy just trucking across pheasant hunting it.
Did not have permission.
Didn't have permission for it. And you called Mr. Game Warden, and Mr. Game Warden came out and talked to us. We said, there he is. And he went and waited for him to get done hunting. He had shot some pheasants, and he didn't get cited. But the Game Warden confiscated the pheasants he shot on that land. So to me, if it was legal, he wouldn't have taken his birds. Now, you can't get cited, but you're still going to have a punishment. Otherwise, if it was truly legal and he just can't come back for a year, well, then the game warden would have just said, well, go tell him that. Or he'd have gone over and said, hey, here's the deal. You've been asked to leave. You can't come back. But he took his pheasants. So I think people got to be real careful if they're going to want to say that that's legal, and all of a sudden they walk in on Saturday on somebody's land that's not posted properly and shoots a big buck. You're going to get it taken away. So respect private land. Even if it's not properly posted, have some ethics, respect some private land, know where you stand with OnX. There's an app out there. You can know exactly where you are. There's no excuse for trespassing anymore. Ask for permission. I know there's some gray areas, or not gray areas, but there's some ways you can get onto private land to track animals and whatnot. But
there's way more nuance to some of this, But in general, because I know people that are out there like, well, they just have to ask me to leave. Yeah. That's all. I'm going to go hunt it. Yeah. Well, why run the risk of making that landowner mad, making hunters look bad? Like, just don't do it.
Yeah.
But this is the way the law is written. Well, I need to either know why the law is written that way, Like if there was some attorney that said, well, this situation could come up, so you should write it this way.
Yep.
Or if this trespass law needs to be rewritten, because don't hunt private land that you don't have permission for.
Yeah, period.
And don't road hunt. There it is. There you go. All right. We got a couple of really cool guests in studio with us, Jake Bermudez and Joe Ellis. They have some great stories. We're going to talk to them next. And Joe Henry's going to check in with the Lake of the Woods report too. All coming up. This segment brought to you by Tasman Lake Lodge, offering trophy lake trout in northern Pike and northwest Saskatchewan. Find out more at tasmanlake.com.
Lake of the Woods, the walleye capital of the world, is calling out to you. From the northwest angle to the South Shore and Rainy River, this is the Midwest's #1 ice fishing destination. Walleyes, sauger, perch, northern pike, and eelpout. The fishing on Lake of the Woods is like a world of its own. Experience the most amazing fishing through one of the many full-service resorts featuring heated fish houses, ice transportation, meal plans, and sleeper fish house options. For more information, go to lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
All right. So this week we've had a couple of, I keep calling you guys boys from the South, but I guess one of you's from the South. You kind of live in the South now.
Yeah, I think Knoxville's technically the South. I'm south of the Mason-Dixon.
Yeah. And
We've got them in witness protection program. I forgot. Here we are. There you guys are.
There we go.
This is my first day.
all right. So these guys been up here doing some hunting this week. That's Dr. Jacob Bermudez on the left and Joe Ellis on the right. Fellas, how's it going?
Great to be here.
Yeah, fantastic. I'm feeling great.
Yeah, well, I want to talk a little bit about why you're here, and we'll talk about how the hunting has been going, pheasant hunting and duck hunting. As I thought for sure, Jake, you were coming up here to deer hunt, and then because the deer hunting is this weekend, and then we were talking to our buddy Tony Crotty, and he's like, "Oh no, Jake's going to be here this week." It's like this is not deer season yet, and we chased some ducks around, shot some pintails. I was going to say shot some mallards, but I'm not sure we did shoot.
One hen.
We shot one mallard.
One hen.
Right.
It was good. We're just hen killers.
And but then we went pheasant hunting, and Joe, you got to shoot your first rooster.
It was a great experience.
We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But Jake, since you are a doctor, I want, and you've moved around. You lived in Fargo, you lived in Minneapolis, and I want to talk about what you do, and then also how that applies to the outdoor world. Like, give us some tips on what we can do to be healthier as hunters, as people that live in the outdoors, and especially like when we were pheasant hunting, we were doing a lot of walking. And it's a lot of work. And I know you guys don't do it too much. And you're asking me beforehand, like, should I wear my jacket?
Long johns?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm like, no. Plus it was hot. It was going to be about 60 degrees that afternoon. And I said, we're going to be out there stumbling, bumbling around, and you're going to want to be able to take layers off. And at one point, Joe, I looked at you, and a little bit of sweat dripping down.
A little husky.
It's work. And honestly, Jake, pheasant hunting I think is my favorite. Like, I can't do the gym. I want to. I've tried it. I've had multiple gym memberships. During my time in radio, we were sponsored by all the gyms, so they had free memberships for us. And I'd go there on my lunch break and I'd work out. And then I don't know. It wasn't for me. I like working out outside, I think. And pheasant hunting is my gym. That's what I enjoy. And so we're kind of going down the trail of what I wanted to talk about later, but let's just get into this, because you got a new lab ranger, and you were able to go out there and hunt over him. He flushed his first roosters. You shot your first rooster over him. You retrieved his first rooster. You actually shot 2 roosters over him, if I remember right.
Correct.
And we're driving back in the car, and you're like, I really like this pheasant hunting thing. And what I think I really like about it is watching my dog. And I was like, now you get it. Like that's like 75% of it, I think, for a lot of upland bird hunters out there, is just watching their dog work. So that's fun.
It's an amazing thing. It's something that I haven't had an opportunity to experience up until this point. And then yesterday, just kind of...
Did he just slip into his doctor voice there on the show? Oh, so he's very professional. Like... I don't know. It's his podcast voice.
Most doctors have 2 modes. There's physician mode, and then there's regular old person.
Are you
mode.
about to tell me to take 2 of these and call you in the morning?
I mean, I'm not that kind of doctor. But
say at least we're not making him write anything down, because we wouldn't be able to read it.
That's all right. Well, all right. Let's just back up just a second. What kind of doctor are you? What do you do?
So I'm technically a diagnostic radiologist.
Okay.
And then I subspecialize in interventional radiology and breast radiology. Breast radiology is kind of my forte, and I really specialize in finding breast cancer before it can do anything bad to a patient. So that's kind of my subspecialty.
Important work.
The nice thing about diagnostic radiology is that you learn a breadth of imaging. So basically, anytime you get an image done in the hospital, whether it's an X-ray, an MRI, a CT scan, a PET scan, one of us reads it, interprets it, and tells the doctor that ordered it what's going on. So I get the opportunity to see basically...
So you're smarter than the doctors is what you're saying. I think that's what I took out of that.
We call ourselves a physician consultant. So other doctors consult us to help them with their patients.
Gotcha.
But it gives us the opportunity to really visualize every disease process in the hospital. So we see everything from, newly expecting moms all the way to, 90-year-olds that are on hospice and have bowel obstructions. So we have to be able to diagnose every single disease in the hospital, in the clinic, anywhere, which gives us a great lens into healthcare in general. And so we do see a lot of hunters that come in. We see, accidents and injuries out of the ED all the time. ED,
really?
Emergency department. And so, yeah.
I'm glad you explained what ED was.
I just, some people look for ER, ED, different parts of the country.
Well, you hear a lot of commercials talking about ED, but it's never the emergency department.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that we knew that. I wasn't looking at a whole lot of ED cases.
Sometimes it's a cougar hunt ED.
Well, at least we didn't keep EDTS today. TS was the other acronym we were.
Oh yeah, TS.
Yeah.
Top secret.
You gotta know what you gotta know.
That's Joe's military background coming through. Joe, you were in the Air Force.
I was. I did 11 years, 3 months in the Air Force, and then I punched out, used that GI Bill for a law school back in Texas. God bless it. And met my wife, and now I'm an attorney outside of San Antonio.
All right. Well, thank you for your service. Yeah. You did 2 tours in Afghanistan?
Yes, sir. Kandahar and up in Bagram. Happy not to go back.
I bet. Man, I know we've talked off the air about that a little bit. Both Iraq and Afghanistan, crazy. Thank you for doing it. I'm fortunate that I didn't have to do that. So thank you for doing that. And I was able to. I kind of feel like I was able to say thank you in a sense by getting you on your first bird.
You definitely did. It's obviously the Pheasant King is sitting across from me down here. I am a rookie by all means for waterfowl and pheasant hunting. It's been a great experience coming up to Minnesota, checking it out. And then I've learned the value of a good dog. We had some dogs that were decently trained back home. There's different levels of training. And definitely having a good dog and a dog that's going to be, listening to the commands and flushing, it makes it so much better experience, and it's awfully make it exciting.
It's about the dogs, man.
You never know they're going to pop up, and you see the dog get excited, and you're like, okay, where is it? And you watch the dog, and then they get you to where you need to be.
I love it. Dogs are the best. And Jake, it was a lot of fun watching Ranger. Like, he got his first duck retrieved the other day.
Correct. Yeah.
So he's a year and a half.
He's a year and 4 months.
Year and 4 months.
Yep. Just turned.
He came from Corey Loeffler.
Yep. Correct.
One of Corey's dogs, which Tiny is too.
Correct.
And then I spent some time with Tim Springer.
He did. Yep. I kind of finished him off with Tim. 3 months here in Minnesota with Tim Springer.
Dynamic retrievers. Tim does a good job. Good guy.
Yeah.
And you can tell, like, obviously Tim's a good trainer, and but Ranger not having much actual hunting experience until,
zero.
This week. Yeah, zero. And this week he's picking up. You see him pick it up pretty quick. Like, you can see that. We've seen that light bulb go off now a number of times.
Yeah. I think that was really one of the most exciting things for me, was to just see him progress, as we were hunting, kind of, on the job training. Your dog, Tiny, is obviously an expert when it comes to flushing pheasants.
She's all right.
Yeah. she's pretty good. And, when we were first walking, Ranger was just sitting on my heel, which I was great. I mean, that's what he's trained to do. He just wouldn't leave me, kept on looking up at me, waiting for me to send him on a blind or, something like that. And, I was like thinking in my head, man, I'm never going to be able, how do I get this dog from here to what Tiny's doing? And all of a sudden he just kind of looked at Tiny, looked around and put his nose to the ground. All of a sudden looked back at me, and I could kind of tell he was asking. I just kind of gave him the nod, and all of a sudden he was on a rooster trail, and took off and flushed this rooster. Came back to me all happy, and I just gave him all the praise I could, and it was really cool to see him move from I'm doing the hunt dog, the hunt test thing and the trial thing, where I'm at your heel and I'm waiting for you to okay, I'm gonna get to have some fun. Now I know that Dad wants me to go find that bird, and then we got the opportunity actually today. He got birdie again while we were coming back from a duck hunt on a piece of land that we've got access to, and I let him go, and boom, up popped the pheasants, and click the little button like you were telling me, and he's coming right back to me, and all of a sudden it's just like, man, this dog's just picking things up quicker than I could even comprehend teaching it to him.
He's a smart dog, good looking, good temperament, and year and a half he's going to be a little excited, a little amped up. He's going to have a lot of energy, which labs, people ask me that all the time. Well, when does the lab finally grow out of the puppy stage? I said, like age 10 or 11.
It's a lab,
probably.
That's what you bought him
12,
for,
something like that. But it's been fun to have him around here. And I know, you went into town to go to the store today, and you're like, do you mind if I just leave him here? I'm like, heck yeah, let's go. He's fun, and I think he's got a crush on Tiny.
I think so too. He doesn't let her too far from his sight. In fact, they're both sitting nose to nose here.
I don't blame him. Well, we're going to take a quick break, but I want to talk a little bit more about your guys' experience up here in shooting birds, in some cases for the first time, and new dogs, then also some health training tips, some health tips for hunters out there is, not just for upland, but when you think about deer hunters or maybe guys that are going into the mountains, they're going to be doing some elk hunting and they're going to be packing animals out. I mean, got to be in shape for that. It's something you got to think about. Some more with the Dr. Jacob Bermudez. I don't know why I got to call you that now that we're on the air. More with Jake and Joe when we come back. It doesn't get much better than fresh perch and fresh walleye. If you're looking for an exciting winter fishing destination, come to Devils Lake, North Dakota. Haybale Heights Campground and Resort is on the ice with a fleet of snow bears, keeping you mobile and warm so you can stay on the roaming schools of fish. Haybale Heights on the east end of Devils Lake has knowledgeable guides, comfortable cabins, and their own lake access, making your trip as successful and stress-free as possible. To book your trip, go to haybaleheights.com. That's haybaleheights.com. We got Dr. Joe Ellis and Air Force veteran Jake Bermudez. No, wait, I'm getting that mixed up.
You got that mixed up.
Again. Joe, you got some health tips for us? All right, Jake and Joe, it's been fun having you guys back in here. And Jake, I just want to briefly, because you spent time in some of my old stomping grounds as a doctor. You're building a house. You're going to be living in Tennessee.
Correct.
But you are from originally
Chicago. I grew up in the city, really, on the west side of Chicago, off of Addison.
Which, looking back, growing up in Chicago, did you ever think that you'd be spending time in western Minnesota chasing ducks and geese around over your own yellow lab?
Not in 1 million years. I didn't even know what a yellow lab was.
Yeah. I think it's great. Like your whole journey into the outdoors, I think, is awesome. And not just that, but competitive shooting. It's quite the journey to come from living in Chicago to where you are now. So I want to talk a little bit about that, but you decide to get into the medical field, become a doctor. That takes a long time. And you bounced around to a number of different places. Yeah,
I did. My training, I guess you would call it, collegiate life went from Central Illinois, University of Illinois, Ann Arbor, Michigan, University of Minnesota in the Twin Cities, Fargo, North Dakota, down to Florida and Orlando, and then I finished off at Northwestern in Chicago again. So
and how many years did that take? Like, that's a year or two at each?
It's in total 16 years I've been in college training, medical training. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's 16 more years than Bret went to college.
Almost 15
or 15
years and 3 months. Did 9 months of radio school.
And my wife considers me a habitual learner. That's what she, instead of a life learner, she's like, no, you're just habitual.
Wow. That's amazing. And obviously you're doing, some good work. I mean, important work out there. And, especially when you start talking about cancer and things like that, that's important stuff. So thank you for getting into that world. When you, where were you at when you were in Fargo? Was it?
That was my intern year. So the first year after medical school, most specialties have to do what they call an intern year. And it's basically a year of punishment.
Is that Sanford?
Yeah, that was at Sanford, which I cannot say enough about the medical system there in Fargo. That's one of the best hospitals I've ever worked at.
Was it the new one?
Correct.
Oh, okay. Yep. That's what I wanted to ask you about, because they built that pretty much right as I left Fargo.
Yep.
So I never really had a chance to see it. I used to live downtown by the one near downtown Fargo, so I spent some time there, but I never, that new one, because it's like a level 1 trauma.
Oh, it's world class.
Yeah.
I mean, their numbers as far as stroke, cardiac intervention, they're up with some of the top hospitals in the country. You know, they're rivaling, the Mayo Clinic, talking about places like Northwestern Michigan Medicine. They really do great work there. And
then at some point you decide you want to go duck hunting.
Yeah, that happened in medical school. So I, after I did my PhD at the University of Michigan, I was working out in LA as a consultant engineer for a firm out of Germany. And I made the great decision that I wanted to go back to medicine. I wanted to stop making money and then start borrowing money. And I just put my applications out, and I got a scholarship to go to the University of Minnesota. And then, as everybody knows, medical school is ungodly expensive.
Yeah.
So when you get a scholarship, you bite. They brought me out on a beautiful fall day. The Mississippi River was all in its colors. It was like 60 degrees. I was like, oh, I can go to school here. This is beautiful. Long story short, come fall of my first year, a bunch of the guys there said, hey, you want to go duck hunting? And I was just like, you mean like the video game?
Duck hunting?
And they were like, no, we're going to wake up real early and go shoot ducks. And I'm just like, we're in the middle of a city, and like, are you allowed to shoot ducks? I thought they were like endangered or protected or something, I'm like, in Chicago, they're at the zoo, and they're like, okay, just here, one of my good buddies brought me online. I took the hunter safety course. He showed me where to buy my license and everything. I didn't have a shotgun even. I went to watch. And then, I was like, hey, this is pretty interesting. I liked it. And they had a dog with them, a black lab. And I was kind of into it. And then really weirdly, I had a very sad but happy case. There was a girl that had some intractable seizures that I was really instrumental in figuring out what was wrong with her. A couple doctors had passed her up, really hadn't taken the time to sit with the family and understand her disease process. And I did that. And we were able to really figure out what was going on with her. And her dad said, hey, I want to pay you back, And I was like, well, we can't take money or anything. He said, no. You want to go duck hunting? And I was just like, the weekend before was my first duck, and I said, okay, let's go duck hunting. Went on a duck hunt with him. A couple months later, he says, hey, you want to go hunt snow geese?
Oh, heck yeah.
And I was just like, what the heck is a snow goose? So I go online, I start watching these videos, and I was like, oh, okay, so I go out to Cabela's and I buy all the stuff and the shotgun and all this stuff, and we drive out to South Dakota and we meet up with this guy named Tony Crotty.
I've heard of him.
Who took us on a snow goose hunt, and we got absolutely stuffed. It snowed like 2 feet.
Oh boy.
Birds turned the other way. We didn't take a shot the whole time. And Tony offered me, kind of a compensation. I said, hey, I'm really sorry you didn't shoot a shot. Come back out with us. It ended up being a buddy hunt later on that year. And, me and Tony have been friends ever since.
Was I on that buddy? Was that?
You were.
Okay.
We dropped some boats into a slough right off the road there, and we shot a bunch of divers. In fact, this was one of the first birds that I ever shot myself.
Oh, hooded merganser.
Hooded merganser, yep. I'll never forget Tony. I think it was Nala that went and got the duck. And Tony grabbed it and said, here you go, Jake, is your first duck. And I was just like, that thing's beautiful.
Yeah, they're pretty neat. Yeah. That's awesome. So, I mean, you went from that to now part of Mid-Migration Outfitters.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a whirlwind from there. I just kept on finding that I was really enjoying the time that I'd be spending out here with you guys. And every opportunity that I got to take vacation for a sizable chunk, I would just be calling to see what was going on out here. And when the opportunity presented itself, I've got a little bit of business acumen. I run a business in the Twin Cities called ProNav. We do medical imaging. So I've had some success there, and Tony was looking for somebody to kind of help him out on that side. And so our talents kind of meshed really well. And obviously Tony's one of the best at what he does. So yeah, I'm 50% partner in MMO now, Mid-Migration Outfitters, and I love it. We make, people's dreams, happen. And
we might just take somebody else from the mean streets of Chicago and turn them into a duck hunter.
Lord willing.
My favorite story, Jake, is when you came out. You were out for my surprise birthday party here a couple of weeks ago, and again, everybody that was a part of it, thank you very much. Set it all up. We shot guns. We shot trap. Played Annie Oakley for 3 hours at least
minimum.
Yeah, and at some point, I don't remember if you said it to me or somebody else. Probably Tony or something like, I didn't know you could have fun like this, or whatever you said. I don't remember what the exact quote was.
Yeah, no, I mean, we were just having so much clean fun, and I was just like, I never knew you could have fun legally like that. Like I just
spending time in the country.
It was great, and there were, I'm obviously I'm Christian. I'm a man of faith. I try to live a clean life, and that involves making sure that you keep yourself away from certain things. And I think a lot of people associate that with not having fun and stopping yourself from doing things that are enjoyable.
God wants us to have fun too.
You bet He does, absolutely. And I had a boatload of fun that day. Just it was just one of the happiest moments that I've had. Outside of my marriage, I guess you would say.
Careful, you might be in the doghouse when you get home.
I know, right? Exactly. And thank God my wife doesn't know about this channel.
Well, she's going to after this. She better know. She better subscribe, Jake. What the heck?
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll get her on that.
So at that party, we were eating a lot of food. I mean, most of it was probably burgers and hot dogs, hot dogs are probably your favorite, I'm sure, Jake.
Yeah, I love them.
And there may have been some beers and whatever. At what point, how many times did you look at what we were ingesting and just kind of shake your head like, you guys?
I mean, I think one of the important things, especially if you're going to try and be impactful, is like not passing judgment. Like my life choices and the decisions that people make around me, you can't judge anybody, but at the same time, what I try and do is just make sure that I'm a positive influence in a certain way. Yeah, it's sometimes you look around, you're like, oh, whoa, there isn't one good hand to mouth going on here right now.
Well, you survived a car ride down to where are you going, Missouri? Snow goose hunting with David?
Oh yeah. I barely survived that. I was starved. I probably lost about 6 pounds on that vacation because there was no food available that I could eat.
Well, it sounded like there was a lot of Casey's pizza available.
There was a ton of Casey's pizza, none of which I could ingest.
Yeah. And probably some Grizzly and some Dr. Pepper?
Yeah, definitely. There was, but that's where my journey with intermittent fasting became just fasting.
That's hilarious. Joe, do you have the same health exercise regimen that Jake does?
I like to live a nice, healthy lifestyle, but I enjoy life too. Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. Jake's a nice guy, and you get to know him, and he's like one of the doctors who can give it to you straight and like give you a great explanation in basic terms, which is hard to do sometimes. But also, Jake and I are kind of polar opposites in some ways, and we really hit it off on a bachelor party that one of our good buddies, and that's how we got paired up. And just a nice little friend, late 30s friend connection. Those are kind of hard to make. And I kind of hit it off, and I was like, hey, this guy's pretty cool. And my wife's like, what's he like? Well, he's a doctor. He's from the north. He doesn't drink at all. And she's like, well, that sounds like a positive role model for you. Opposites do attract.
Yeah. Amen.
Hey, you were an athlete in college. You played football?
Still a bit athlete. Just let's get that out there first. You saw the quick reaction. I can still go a few quarters, but no, I played D-line at the Air Force Academy, and definitely love football. It's been good to me. And then post-military, when no longer having to run, and some of those aches and pains and hips and issues catch up to you, and sitting at a desk doesn't help. Eternity's not the most mobile or active job, so definitely those who can hunt and get out in nature, take advantage of it, do it more often, and take care of yourself because it sneaks up on you quick.
I'll tell you what, I'm not passing any judgment, but there were some slow walks through the field yesterday. Again, I was whatever
from you.
Yeah, definitely. But the way you spun around and shot that rooster, like that was cat-like.
Should we watch it here?
Yeah, we got to.
Yeah, here we go.
So Tiny is working out in front. You can tell she was birdie. I'm just following behind you, filming it. and this bird is running circles around us. I keep watching this video looking for footage of the rooster running through the grass because he's doing circles. Tiny's on one side of us, he's on the other side of us. We're wondering if the bird's running into this grove. And finally, we kind of get to the edge of the grass, which is usually when a bird will flush because it's reached the end. And we're like, well, what the heck? Where is it? And we stop and stand here for 1 second.
Right behind your rooster. Nice.
Kapow.
That thing flushes right behind you. And you spin.
Nice. There we got it.
You spun so fast on that and did not miss.
Heck yeah.
That's the heart of a champion in pursuit. We had a great plan of attack. Brett does this a little bit and kind of knew the place we were hunting extremely well. And like life and like battle plans, sometimes things don't go as according to plan. And we were not in position before the first shot was executed.
Yeah.
And we watched a few birds go by, and we were not where we needed to be. So then we had to kind of make up some ground. But towards the end of the day, it was good to get a win there at the end. Definitely, you hear them, and you hear the flutter, and then you got to track them quick because once they start moving, at least for me, being a first-time pheasant hunter, they move pretty fast. It's not a clay pigeon, so it goes a little quicker than you think once they're up sailing. So once they get off, you got a couple seconds to get your sight and take that shot. Otherwise, you're not going to hit them.
Yeah, well, and you're right. We kind of had this plan, and I left out a little key detail for Jake. Like, we were going to surround this food plot, and I was like, all right, Jake, you're going to... And I mean, we even stopped along the road, and I pointed out, all right, you're going to go here, you're going to go here. I mean, we did everything but kneel down and draw it out in the sand, right? Like,
Correct.
We had this thing. The one thing I forgot to tell Jake was like, hey, just wait for us to get into position. And he was so jacked, and his dog was on fire, smelling roosters probably immediately, and you guys dove right in and pushed birds out in front of us, which it's my fault. That's all right. And then after that, Tiny put up a rooster in front of you, and I listened, and I heard your gun go click, and I went, uh-oh.
Didn't work out. I had oiled. I had taken care of my weapon, but even on a good day, your tools could fail you. Yeah. So I definitely had a misfire, slap rack, reload, but that was a tough one to watch fly by because that was definitely probably the easiest shot I would have had all day.
You wanted to shoot a rooster in the worst way.
I did.
And we had walked, and you'd had some shots. Some of them were pokes, some of them were tough shots, but you had a couple opportunities. But like the sun was setting. Day was almost over. Were you worried that it wasn't going to get done?
I was a little bit, especially when we had a great plan. And I'm like, well, maybe there'll be one or two in this cornfield. But when about 7 flew out, I was like, man, I may have blown it. That was my chance. But I was trying to be optimistic. I was just, I had a good time. And that's the kind of the thing you got to realize. Your worst or most frustrating hunt is still a good day.
Yeah.
And it's just something you got to take advantage of. I haven't checked an email all week. It's been great. I haven't taken a client phone call, and besides checking in with the wife, it's been great to be on break and check out up north. And it's not been that cold. I was kind of worried. I had to buy a whole new hunting wardrobe.
Stick around through the weekend. We'll show you cold.
I got to head back down.
Yeah, you're timing it just right.
It's funny that you say that because the last time I went to Texas, it was right. Remember that storm a couple of years ago that knocked out power? It was
Snowmageddon.
Yeah.
End of days. We don't have insulated pipes, so we don't play when it gets down that bad.
But I got down there right after that, so I was like, "Whoa, this is cold." Like it was cold out there, but it was a fun trip for sure. So we worked out. We got you your bird, and you guys shot some ducks. You guys each shot a duck, right, on this trip?
Yeah, we got some ducks, and Jake got a few pheasants. I got one towards the end of the day. But yeah, it's been great. We shot at a goose and got humbled. He kind of shook it off and kept running.
Yeah, we got embarrassed by a cackler on our first day, but it happens. That'll happen.
You brought up what you were saying a second ago. I just want to echo that and just reiterate what you were talking about, because especially in today's climate where social media it's all about clicks and views and algorithms and traffic and pile pictures, and you have to be successful to get, everybody wants their picture to get clicked on a bunch of times. Mm-hmm. You're forgetting the real reason that you're out there. And yeah, we all want to be successful. And as you got to taste last night, I love eating pheasant. And the mallard, like is that the first time you've had like a plucked skin on mallard, Jake?
Yeah, I think that's the first time I have actually. That was delicious.
Yeah. What were you expecting when I handed you that plate?
Well, I mean, I was kind of expecting, I think I had mallard tacos before with the ones that I had shot. And I made some pasta with another one. It had always been kind of tough and whatever, just a little gamey, people say.
Overcooked.
Yeah, and kind of, almost that coppery taste, But that mallard that you gave me was perfectly done. I mean, medium rare. The center was juicy. That skin on it was crispy. That's something I'd order at a restaurant multiple times.
Yeah, and Dan might have cooked that one, and then I think
Probably.
I made mallard again the next night. He had to go to fire meeting or whatever,
Yeah.
but it's good. Like, I love eating wild game. We eat it all the time here, so we like being successful. But it's not always about how many things you shoot or how big your buck is or whatever that makes it a successful trip out into the outdoors. So I'm glad you got that outlook. And Dan, maybe we'll play the first Rooster #1 video, because guys like me can miss. And Jake, this is when I shot. I should have had 2 of them. These 2 roosters get up in front of me, and my first shot, I think he was too close, and my pattern just blew a hole in his wing.
Sure. Too close. That's the worst excuse.
And then I hit him on the second, and then that one scared me. I was like, oh gosh. And I shot, if you look at this breakdown, you'll watch my pattern. Like, I wasn't even close. Like, and then you got to shoot at it.
Those 3 were me, yeah.
So in my mind, I'm going to tell everybody I missed on purpose.
To give me an opportunity.
Yeah, to give you exactly.
How generous of you.
Then why'd you miss, Jake?
Well, I wanted to give Joe an opportunity.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
I mean, obviously.
I was playing defense on the other side of the field.
I think it's also one of the things I enjoy about pheasant hunting is the exercise, but also the ability just to see wild animals in nature. And when you're pheasant hunting, you're walking around some wild places that a lot of times most people don't ever get to see, or you don't spend much time out there. And sometimes you'll see coyotes, sometimes you'll see, deer, whatever. But also, sometimes you get to see pheasants doing things you don't always get to see them do. And in this next video, if you look close, you were to my left and I was in the middle, Jake, and you and Ranger pushed a rooster at me. Because you'll see it all of a sudden, you can just barely see it, but you see it running at me, and then all of a sudden it sees me and Tiny, and it's like, whoa.
Let's play it.
I'm cool.
And then it gets up and flies, and it has to fly. So that's why, I'm like, as you saw, I try to position people in certain places because things like this happen. Now, if you just watch where is it? Right there.
For those listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can watch this on Spotify and YouTube, by the way, or the radio, if this makes a radio show.
Right.
That was an amazing shot.
Well, I don't want to brag or anything, but it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, you squared that one up solid.
Well, I had both
We could
eyes
play
closed.
some misses.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we just did.
I definitely have plenty of those. Yeah, for sure. So it was a fun time hunting with you guys. I really appreciate, the time we got to spend. It was good. And not just out there hunting, but just you guys hanging out in the house. And I know, Joe, you had to sleep on the couch one night. Sorry about that.
Hey, it's free lodging. Can't beat it.
Yeah.
The price is absolutely right, and the company's good.
I'll send you guys a bill.
Okay.
Let me ask you this, Jake. While we were talking about wild game, like so with you have an interesting diet. It's very interesting to me. But wild game is one of the meats you will eat. Like you won't buy a beefsteak from a store or anything, but you'll eat wild game because it explained why. I guess it's healthier. It just break that down for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've kind of abstained from, I guess you would call store-bought meat now for almost 10 years, nine and a half years. And wild game is a good portion of the meat that I do eat. One of the things that I enjoy about wild game is that in the time from when the animal is harvested to the time that it comes on your plate, there isn't a lot of processing. It doesn't go through a long wait period, and that really reduces the amount of time bacteria have to work on the meat. and I mean, some of the more obvious benefits, they're nutritiously much more nutrient dense, not just in macronutrients, meaning, the protein and the fats that are involved in the meat, but micronutrients, so some of the minerals and phytonutrients that we need are found in much more dense concentrations in wild game meat. And it has to do with the fact that the animals are out running around, fending for their lives, acquiring the nutrients that they need at will instead of being in a pen and only being fed the things that are given to them. We can go down a long, dark rabbit hole on what is wrong with the meat that we are fed in this country and all over the world, by the way. I don't think that the U.S. is the only country that suffers from this. And really, it has to do with a farmer's ability to make a profit in this market. You do find some farmers who are small, a small herd. They're able to do it kind of the more sustainable, kind of old-fashioned way. And those farmers are usually able to produce higher quality meat, but on a mass scale, that just isn't feasible any longer with the way that we grow meat in this country. And that's one of the reasons I don't consume, nor does my family consume, store-bought meat.
Sure. As a former cattle rancher, Joe, what do you say about that?
I think it's Jeff, the marketing from what you actually get at the grocery store, as far as, is it organic? Is it grass-fed? What does it mean? There's a lot of, as being an attorney, there's a lot of legal definition and loopholes that are applied to what you think you're getting something healthy, and it may have some more less desirable, traits, or not exactly the representation you're buying. How much does it mean to be free range? What does that mean? Is that out in the pasture, free range chicken? Oh yeah. Or is it just have enough room to walk around inside of a barn? I don't know the exact definitions by memory, but I know that some of that stuff is not as transparent as it should be. But yeah, cattle, beef, ranchers, the struggle is basically, are we getting more meat from South America, Brazil, et cetera, as those markets expand? Are we trying to, bolster the prices at home? Are we trying to lower them for everyday consumers? It's kind of a battle on which side you're on as far as the producers back home in Texas, what we're going to do and how we're going to fix that problem. But again, homegrown beef is tough to beat. Slaughtering cattle and filling the freezer, especially when you know what it's been eating, when it's been taken care of, it's tough to beat. But everybody has that opportunity.
That's delicious. Beef is still fantastic.
Yeah, it's good,
absolutely.
Yeah.
We don't eat it very often, but
once a year.
Yeah, fundraiser.
Thanks, fire department.
Jake, I don't know how much we touched on it, but we did say we were going to talk about it, so we probably should. When it comes to like the hunting season, as you've seen, some of us hunters don't always have the best dietary habits. There may be some alcoholic beverages that are consumed, and lots of coffee in the morning too. So when it comes to particularly upland hunters who are going to be out there stomping around in the grass, or maybe big game hunters that have to go, pack out an animal that's deep in the in the woods or whatever, what are some things that we should be doing when it comes to what we put in our bodies?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. I think it's multifaceted. I think the primary thing to consider is be prepared. If you're planning on walking multiple miles out in the sun, in the wind, in the elements, don't let that be the first time that you've walked a mile in the last year. Go out, get your dog, go out, walk some fields. Make sure you're preparing in environments where you're not relegated to just a bottle of water, where you're not, with a group of guys who might be a little bit more fit and you're trying to keep up, that kind of thing. That's when injuries really occur. Hydration is something to be really, really conscious of. In the medical lingo, we call it insensible loss. People think like, oh, when I urinate, that's when I get rid of my fluid. You're constantly expelling fluid. It's evaporating off your skin as sweat. It's coming out of your mouth as water vapor. Every time you breathe, you lose water. We tend to hunt in pretty dry places that are windy, right? And so you might lose 2, 3, 4 liters of water in a day. You pack on, some coffee that's got caffeine, which is a diuretic, causing you to lose more water. And all of a sudden you can get yourself behind the 8 ball of dehydration. And that's when we start talking about formation of kidney stones, especially if you're eating a high protein diet. and you're not getting enough fluid, and then you have a diuretic on top of that, we can cause, dehydration. And then we really start to go down a pathway of exposure and things like that. So making sure that you train for what you plan to do. And I'm sure Joe can talk more about that when it comes to sports, because this is a sport, right? Mm-hmm. You're going out, you and your dog, they call us sportsmen for a reason. Sitting in a duck blind may not be all that exerting, but when you have to get out and tromp through that marsh to go get a cripple,
that too, yeah.
Right. I mean, you come back, you're soaked. And so making sure that you're preparing for that in the gym or walking around, and then making sure that your body has what it needs as far as nutrients goes, making sure you have electrolytes in your diet. Don't just let it be a cup of coffee. Take a Gatorade with you, eat a banana, throw some fruit in there. If you think you're going to need 2 water bottles, pack 4, right? What's the worst thing that happens? You got to take an extra second to take a leak. Great.
I don't remember if we were out in the field or in the driveway. I can't remember, but you're like, I turned around, walked away for a couple of steps, and I just hear, man, I need to drink more water.
Yeah. And I think that's another thing too, to make sure
there is a visual clue. Like you can, when you go to the bathroom, you can see.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, when your kidneys start concentrating urine, your body is saying, hey, hold on to that water. Let all of the solutes go, right? And keep the solvent, which is the water. And so then all of those impurities go out in your urine and they give it a color. We all know what that is. And then your body holds on to that water. Well, you can use that as an indicator and say, hey, if my body is trying to hold on to water right now, it's saying I need that water to keep my blood pressure up, to keep my blood flowing, literally. And if you are at that state, you're already dehydrated. You need to start hydrating and then backfilling that hydration. So if you lost 2 liters, you need to give it 3, 4. And one of the things that people think, I drink a bottle of water, it's going to go right into my bloodstream. Only about a third of that water is going to make it into your intravascular space. And I've seen hunters.
Where do the other 2/3 go?
So some of it's going to get filtered out through your kidneys and go into your urine. Some of it's going to go into sweat to cool your body, and then some of it will go into what we call a third space. So it kind of can go into the interstitial tissues. That's less likely if you're dehydrated because your body's going to be trying to hold on to more of it. But those are other places that it goes. So it can take a good amount of fluid to kind of reconstitute a dehydrated body.
And the medical jingle is peeing clear, happy mountaineer, peeing yellow, pee the fellow.
Love it, Joe.
Yeah. So when your body is trying to hold on to whatever water it has left, that is the water that's going into your bloodstream then, or where does your body, or is it still split up into thirds at that point?
No, then it starts becoming a much smaller fraction going into your urine. And if you've ever been really dehydrated, people that have these experiences in the military where they're out in the desert and they're away from their units and things, they'll go periods of time with, we call it almost anuric, where they're not really producing urine. And that's extremely bad for your kidneys. When you get into those periods where you're producing very little urine or none, you can go into kidney failure pretty quickly from that. Now that's extreme dehydration, right? We're talking that's on the end of the scale. But what your body starts doing is saying, hey, I need to maintain my blood pressure. That's like, A number 1. So it's going to say, well, kidneys, sorry, skip you. I need to keep the brain perfused. So we're going to pull that perfusion away from you. It starts clamping down on those venules that feed and those arterioles that feed your kidneys and starts shunting that blood toward your brain.
Are you following along, Brett?
We need a translator sometimes on the show.
But I mean, long story short, it moves the blood away from your kidneys to stop that water from leaving as urine and keeps it in your blood vessels so that it can keep your blood pressure up.
It's interesting stuff, man. I mean, it's important to stay healthy out there. We all love to hunt and fish, and generally, upland hunting keeps people. It's natural that you're going to stay in shape to some extent because you're walking around all the time. But
and you think about, go back to, we were talking about hospitals earlier, where we are right here in western Minnesota. It's rural, but we wouldn't call it remote. When we think of having issues in the country, hunting and fishing, you're thinking of the mountains or the boundary waters or something. Yeah. Where you don't have help coming. Even where we're at right here, you have some time to wait for emergency services, and if you have a real problem, you're probably going to have to get on a helicopter and get to Fargo or get to Sioux Falls or get to the Twin Cities. Like, even where we're at here, that stuff is incredibly important because you don't always have help right at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, some of these injuries and things like that, especially when we're talking about, firearms and things, there can be a lot of blood loss very quickly. And if you're not, at a center that has a transfusion or a blood bank, which that's even more rare, you could be in trouble quick. Yeah, real quick.
So maybe real quick before we wrap this up, what are some first aid type items that I should be carrying out there?
So I think, as we're going back to hydration, we want to make sure you're carrying, a Gatorade, hydration, water, something like that. Bandaging for small cuts, things like that. Cleaning material, hydrogen peroxide works great for that, Neosporin and that type of thing. And then making sure you have a trauma kit, something to get at a big wound. Tourniquets, as long as you know how to use them, are very valuable. Don't try and use a tourniquet if you don't know how to use them. It's not hard to learn. But, people get a little cut on their hand, they go strap a tourniquet on, you come in, you've, asphyxiated a limb or a finger. Yeah, exactly. So learn how to use those things and practice with them. Once you get the materials, go practice with these things. Don't let it be the first time that you're trying to use it out in the field.
For sure. All right. Dr. Jacob Bermudez and Joe Ellis. Joe, should we go have a beer?
I think that's what the doctor ordered.
Not true.
Perfect. Well, thanks, guys.
Catch up.
This has been a fun week. Safe travels back home, and thanks for being on the show.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks for having me.
Sick of eating tag soup? It's time to own your odds this fall with OnX Hunt, the GPS hunting app trusted by millions of hunters. Now you'll have access to nationwide public and private land ownership information, waypoints, optimal win for each stand, tracks, and much more. All at your fingertips. Go to onxmaps.com/hunt and use code SJR20 at checkout to receive 20% off your membership. That's code SJR20. All right, we're going to check in with Joe Henry now from Lake of the Woods Tourism. Joe, looks like you're traveling once again.
I was moving around somewhere, Brett. I'll tell you, what I think about this time of year is, when we got deer hunting coming up. So for listeners who maybe aren't from Minnesota, this weekend's a traditional gun hunting season for deer hunting in Minnesota. Whenever that time happens, most outdoor-minded people are out in the woods, right? But that's one of the best times to be on the Rainy River. I mean, some of the biggest walleyes of the year get caught in the Rainy River when it comes deer hunting time. And, I tell you sure don't have much competition out there, I'll tell you that.
Well, it's always the best for everything during the gun deer season in Minnesota. The best waterfowl hunting, some of the best fishing, and of course, everybody's sitting in a tree. So yeah, if you like to do some other stuff, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I like to bow hunt. So I can try to get a lot of my deer hunting in during other parts of the year. I've yet to climb into a tree this year for various reasons. So I'm going to start hunting probably this weekend with my bow. But it is the best time of year right now, Joe.
Oh, fall is way too short, isn't it? I mean, we know that. We talk about it all the time. And, I was even, last night I did some leaves late at night. I actually had a flashlight with me because it was getting dark, shining from my lawnmower. But, I did some leaves last night and I just thought, geez, that full moon was coming up and it was 50-something degrees. And I'm like, why in the heck am I not out on the water? I should have been. But, yeah, well, it is what it is.
Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of boats. I mean, the weather's been nice, so we've been seeing a lot of guys fishing when we're driving around pheasant hunting. So, and every once in a while, Dan and I at this time of year, especially if we have some friends come out or something, and duck hunting's a little slow, we're like, we should be fishing right now. We really should be in a boat. But then we just suffer through another slow morning of hunting something. But I'm excited.
Wait, see what the weather forecast is for this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, people are gonna start breaking out their ice fishing gear. Not that they're ice fishing anytime soon, but anytime you start to get snow and temps below freezing, people start thinking about the next season.
Well, I saw 20s, and not only is that going to get those deer moving if they're not moving already, but I'll tell you what, when it comes to ice fishing, I mean, man alive, if you're not thinking ice fishing, getting some weather in the 20s will get people rolling too.
Yeah, 100%. And we rewatched one of our Northwest Angle videos from last year, ice fishing, Joe, and it got both of us kind of excited.
I just watched that same one as well. Somebody wanted me to send it to him, and I sent it to him, and I watched a little bit of it. And I'll tell you what, that was a fun trip. I mean, Ray Ruiz and Jen Pudens, and of course you and Danny and myself, and what a fun trip. And man, we were up at for listeners, we were up at the Northwest Angle, and we stayed at Cyrus's Flag Island, and we did the full service thing where they took us to a fish house and a bomber, and man, we caught a lot of walleyes, we got saugers, we got jumbo perch. I think we got a small eel pout, we got a pike, And then I know that we had some great meals. It was fun too because, we ate at Flag the first night. I think we ate at Sunset Lodge, if not mistaken, the second night. I think the third night we ate at Sportsman's Oak Island. So we hit 3 of them. Of course, on the way up, we hit Jerry's and had a beer at Jerry's before we came over. That's another good spot to eat up the Northwest Angle. But really an enjoyable trip. We had consistent, action when it comes to fishing. Enjoyable. It was, cold outside. I think it was 10 below, but of course 70 degrees in that fish house. So life was good.
Well, we got a couple boys from the South at the house right now, and one of the guys from Texas, and we were talking to them a little bit about ice fishing, both of them actually about ice fishing. And I think if they saw how the lake up there at the Angle it's not like a city on the ice, but you have all these people fishing on the ice, and you have like road systems and signs and directions. If you want to go eat at Sportsman's Oak Island, you got to hang a right here on this plowed road across, this ice road. And I think his head would explode if he he's laughing at me right now. If he came up there and saw how people get around the Angle in the winter.
They think we're certifiably crazy. So
yeah.
It is interesting, and I'll tell you, so up at the Northwest Angle, it's a little bit different than the South End. Up at the Angle, they have ice roads. But those ice roads aren't to pull a wheelhouse. They're not to fish off of. Those ice roads are solely meant to be able to travel to the resort on an island that you're staying. We have some resorts that are on the mainland, which is called Angle Inlet, Minnesota. And then, of course, we have others that are out on Oak Island, Flag Island, Brush Island, things like that. And so, we take the ice roads to go to the islands. But it's neat because when you go down that road, first off, it's like a 5-lane highway. They plow the heck out of it. They got really nice signage that tells you which resort's coming up, which way to turn for which resort. They do a nice job. And then, of course, in addition, they got the snowmobile trails up there, and you can see those from the road too. And it's a different world, isn't it, Brett?
It's a different world. It's a lot of fun. If you like to fish and spend time in the outdoors, the Angle's amazing. And it's just
remember some of those meals we had?
Yeah, food is really good. Yeah,
we had a fish fry the first night. I know, and we had some appetizers. We had those they're almost like an egg roll with pickle and cream cheese and stuff in them. And then remember we had that was a fresh fish fry of the fish we caught that day. I think the second night we went to Sunset Lodge. I remember I had a smash burger.
Burger. And tachos.
Tachos, yes, the tachos.
We had tachos. And then didn't you have wings? And you were like, holy smokes, these things have a snap to them.
Yeah, they were a dry rub. I can't remember, probably a Cajun dry rub or something like that. And when people talk about hot food in Minnesota, sometimes it's the Minnesota version of hot food. Like, there's a little too much pepper on there. Be careful. But these had some zing. They were good.
I think Ray Ruiz approved the zing on them.
Yeah.
But if you remember, where was that at the time? Where was that chef from? He was from Louisiana or something.
Yeah. Jinx.
Yeah. So then, kind of makes sense, right? Well, then we went to, that was at Sunset Lodge. So we had the fish fry at Cyrus Flag Island. We had the smash burger and the tachos and all that, and the wings at Sunset. And then we went to Sportsman's Oak Island. And I remember somebody had some really good looking pasta. I think I had a smash burger. I think somebody had a steak. I mean, it was very festive there. And I think we had dinner that night with Greg Henham of not only Sportsman's Oak Island, but the Lake of the Woods passenger service, which is a bombardier service that runs people from the South End up to the Angle during the year. And then Adam was there too, one of the guides who also runs for the Lake of the Woods passenger service. And but that was also a very festive night, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a good time. I mean, the whole entire trip was a blast. And for anyone looking for a different ice fishing experience in Minnesota, it doesn't get better than that because it's kind of unique. If you can go across the ice, stay in the United States, or you can bounce through Canada if you want to drive all the way up there like we did and take your truck from resort to resort on the ice. Like, where else are you going to do that?
Well, and for people listening, maybe you're familiar with the Angle. Of course, that little tip of Minnesota that sticks up into Canada is Lake of the Woods, and the Angle is a very northern part of that. Interesting part about it, if you drive to the Northwest Angle, you actually have to drive through Manitoba for about 40 miles, and then you re-enter back into the United States, which means you need a passport card, enhanced driver's license, or you can use an original birth certificate combined with a government-issued ID like a driver's license. Now, and it's fun. I mean, it's a nice drive. We'll stop at Carl and Kay's Fine Foods and pick up our Canadian, chips and
candy bars.
And,
yeah, Dan rates the candy bar stash.
Sometimes Canadian jelly.
Yeah.
That very famous Canadian wheat bread, I think they call it. Actually, they call it a rye bread.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a cracked wheat, like a St. John's bread. But that's good. It's always fun.
It's a lot.
The other way is if you don't want to go through customs, you can stay on the lake and take the Lake of the Woods passenger service, which will keep you in Minnesota. Takes you via Bombardier service, you and your group, to your favorite Northwest Angle resorts across the ice. The other thing is if you snowmobile, the snowmobile trails, there's a couple of them that are groomed and staked, and they take you from the south end of Lake of the Woods all the way up to the Angle. So, I mean, there are a lot of options.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a lot of fun. And if you want to see our video of us traveling up there and going to all these resorts, check out the Fish Hunt Forever YouTube channel. And yeah, Dan will drop the link in the comments there. And we caught fish. I mean, obviously you're up there to catch fish, and we caught big perch. We caught a bunch of walleyes. It was a great trip.
I mean, of all the fish we caught, Brett.
Yeah, they were cool. It was fun. Well, I know you're going to have a lot of people talking to you about Lake of the Woods and asking questions, and you do that a lot at sports shows. I got an email about the Minnesota Sportsman's Show. It's a second annual. It's back at Canterbury Park in Shakopee. The dates for that are January 16th to the 18th, and as I was reading through it, I saw your name in there. It looks like you're going to be a seminar speaker at that show, and it sounds like all the Seneco shows again this year?
Yeah, so I'm going to be. I'll be speaking. We'll have a Lake of the Woods tourism booth, and I'll be giving seminars at that Canterbury show. At Canterbury Park in Shakopee. We'll be at St. Cloud's show in February. We'll be at Fargo and Sioux Falls in March. So I'll be giving seminars at all those shows, as well as having a booth. We give out. I think we're going to be giving a trip away. We certainly give out Lake of the Woods visitor guides, and really answer any questions people have. A lot of times they're setting up a trip, and they may say, "Hey, listen, here's a group I have. Here's kind of what we want to do. Give me a few resorts, narrow it down. Help me on this deal." And we try to get them dialed in,
And you were just at a show in Fargo? There was a show,
Actually, a show in St. Cloud.
Oh, it was St. Cloud. Okay.
Yeah, yep. So they had what's called Shields Ice Fest. It was their 10th annual Ice Fest in St. Cloud. They have a huge, huge tent that they put in the parking lot of the St. Cloud Shields. And boy, I tell you, we had vendors from, and a lot of the company reps from many different companies. And of course, I was there from Lake of the Woods Tourism. And, not only was it nice rubbing elbows with other people in the industry, this was kind of the first ice fishing show this year I'd been to. And there was a lot of excitement. It was crowded. People are excited. It's kind of the start. I don't know what to say, but a lot of good ice fishing talk, man, a lot of really nice people, and really nice weekend.
I mean, we got a lot of hunting to do. I'm just going to back up the train just for a second. I'm not ready for ice fishing yet, but I know a lot of people are. They love it. They love the early ice. They can't wait. I know we've had a lot of conversations this week with some of our buddies around who are just jacked about ice fishing. So it's getting close. And Joe, if people want to get a trip planned or learn a little bit more about how to get up there, or maybe do some fall fishing while we still have decent weather, and you'll have Lake of the Woods to yourself during the deer season probably. What should they do to find out more info?
Everything's on our website, and that is lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
Thanks for listening to the Fish Hunt Forever show. Download the Fish Hunt Forever podcast wherever you get podcasts, or watch on the Fish Hunt Forever YouTube channel. If you like today's show, please give us a 5-star review. Find past shows, articles, news about regulations, and more at fishhuntforever.com.